Hi, this is Bobweiss. I'm the host of Shakinyourworld. Cheers. Folks, welcome to yet another episode of Shakinyourworld. Here we are at the magnificent Shakers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have a very interesting young woman with us today who is kind of a pioneer in Milwaukee with all sorts webby and kind of social media-y. That's just a part of her life. So Michelle is with us today, and we're going to talk about a variety of subjects. And well, here, cheers.
Cheers. Fantastic.
So what do you like in a wine?
I usually like it white and cheap.
Cool.
It's true. Typically a vodka soda girl, but during quarantine, I got really lazy and mixing the vodka soda became a lot of work. So I went straight to the boxed wine.
Sure.
So yeah, cheap and white.
Chablis, Pinot Grigio, just cheap and white. And, yeah, there you go. Fits in the cooler, it's all good,
but
right?
I'm not picky. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we can maybe change that. We have a dinner for women only coming up, and it's a all wine gig. And kind of the cool attachment is that it features wines from the most award-winning female winemaker in Napa.
Oh, wow.
And that's on the 21st. I'd love to have you with my compliments.
I would love that.
So,
I would
cool.
love that, yes.
Weather permitting, not today, it would be on the rooftop, which you've had a great run this summer up there, but my God, we are certainly not there at the moment.
Not right now.
Yeah. So, social marketing and media, cool stuff. So you have created this firm, how far back?
Started in 1998.
1998. That was like a different decade, different
really
century,
was.
different everything.
It really was.
Just think where we are today in 2020, how bizarre it is to think about 1998.
It was a really interesting time starting the company because we were doing websites, and I remember distinctly talking to different business owners and saying, we can build a website. And the catalyst was that my father is an entrepreneur, he's a small business owner, and he got a quote for a website, $30,000 for 4 pages. I said, I can build this for you for a lot less. The joke is it never really got built because we started the company and we got busy. But I do remember going to business owners and saying we should build a website, and they said to me, we don't need a website, we have a Yellow Pages ad. So wrap your head around that.
The what?
So how far we've come, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Regrets?
Plenty,
no.
I'm sure.
No. The answer's no.
Never really, I wouldn't say regrets because you learn, right, from each mistake. I have plenty of mistakes in my past, for sure. But yeah, no real regrets, I think, except for, I would say, and this is along the lines of helping young women, especially young entrepreneurial women, I probably didn't step up and speak up as often as I should have. Okay. Trusting my gut, you know. So that was something that I think has come with age, and still sometimes I fail.
Well, it's a hard thing to do, and especially when you have, you don't want to be in a room with all yes people, for God's sakes, but sometimes it's difficult to stand a course when there are enough people that, you got faith in their opinion, and they're saying, don't do this. Yeah. But really, you know what should be done. I get that.
So those would be some of my regrets of just not really speaking up when I should have. Okay. And so, but otherwise, it's been great. I love what I do, like at least 51% of the time.
Okay. Well, it's
no, I love what I do. I'm really blessed. I have a great team, very much like a family. Okay. And the good thing is we're always having to evolve. Yeah. There's no sitting back and like, oh, I know the business, because as soon as you know social media, it changes.
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah. It certainly has. From when did the Facebook first pop out? 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there?
Yeah, and mostly college students. Yep. And then we started doing Facebook for businesses in, I think, 2011, 2010. And it was before you could advertise. And it was before anyone had real strategies. So we've been constantly trying to, keep ahead of the curve, which is not easy, but like I said, I have a good team. I don't do it all by myself.
It's interesting to me that the name of the company is Facebook, yet they are faceless in many ways, and you can't reach out and talk to someone. There's no customer service, there's no, hey, I've got an issue with something. That doesn't exist. Yeah,
unless you're an agency, which we obviously have contacts that we can work with at Facebook, but if you're just a standard business owner, no, you're not going to reach Facebook. And it is faceless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
That's a very good question. Probably because they don't want to answer questions, if I'm being honest. I have an existential crisis on a regular basis because I actually believe, so Facebook itself is a great tool. The way humans use it isn't always great.
Okay.
And I believe that Facebook they started out for the right reasons, but now they're in it for the money. And they care about the advertisers. And unfortunately, the small business owner who's not going to work with an agency isn't going to be giving enough money to get the answers that they need.
How much money is enough money?
For Facebook advertising budget, enough for you to start getting answers is probably about $100,000 a year, strictly on advertising alone, would be my guess. So.
That's pretty much commensurate with my experience because up until a year ago, we're spending about $75,000 a year with Facebook. And I generally am out of the country a lot. So at one of those points, I was somewhere and my cards got bonked by someone. So that changed then my platform for that. And now I'm back in the States, and now Facebook won't let me run anything. So we have 20 sites. And it's interesting because only one is the cigar bar. I understand the protocol on that, so we don't promote that, right? That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But the other 19 certainly are not. And even my tours, both here and in Savannah, and the food group, and my sauce line and everything else. So it's all locked out. So I can post every day, but I can't promote, I can't advertise, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, 75 grand is 75 grand, for God's sakes. It should be worth someone's time. So every once in a while, because I'm constantly writing, the forums, whatever. And every once in a while, someone responds, said, "Oh, we made a terrible mistake. We're really sorry about that. It'll be switched back on."
Yeah.
Great. When? But it never does.
Yep.
But it never comes back on. I'm like, this is just preposterous.
It's a problem. Yeah, we have similar problems with different. One of our clients is Spike Brewing, and they don't sell alcohol. They make home brewing kits.
Okay.
High end.
Seems innocuous.
But we'll occasionally run into issues. And then typically we have a Facebook rep that we can reach out to. That being said, the rep rotates a lot. So luckily, Kara on my team has to handle that, not me.
Yeah.
But she does get frustrated.
Yep.
It's hard. They are faceless. And in an era when customer service is really important, they're not really showing up with that. But they don't have to because they are the only player in the game for the most part right now.
So, but who's coming online now? Is Google going to have a big presence? They're going to do something with that? And
that is a really good question. I fully believe that Facebook is still going to be the biggest player for many years to come.
Okay.
The only way Facebook starts to lose is, well, one, I without getting into politics, I think the political landscape could cause Facebook to lose market share because people are tired of the constant, barrage of whether it's ads or seeing their friends and family members and their thoughts. So that could happen. In fact, I just saw, and I haven't researched this enough to know if it's true, but Facebook is actually offering people to step off of Facebook, to pay them to step off of Facebook until after the election.
Really?
And so, we'll see what happens with that. But I think unless there's a mass exodus, the marketers are going to go where the people are.
Right.
So I don't see that changing, and I don't see another company coming in and taking it over. And in Facebook, the way that they work is if they can't beat them, they buy them, right? So Snapchat said, no, we're not going to sell. So Facebook created their little stories, which no one really used. They bought Instagram. They recreated Twitter. So business-wise, they're pretty intelligent. Well, morally, that's a different question.
Yeah, you'd almost wonder at some point when the government's going to step up and say, this is a monopoly.
Totally, yeah.
And you can't do this.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
But, and again, not getting too far into politics, the issue we have right now is that the government, most of the politicians, don't understand the platform well enough to be able to speak intelligently to it.
Right.
I barely, I've been working with it now for 10 or 15 years, or what is 2020, 10 years. It takes a lot to understand it and
does.
to really, especially the advertising and the back end and what can be done there.
Right, and they constantly evolve, or at least change the damn thing. So you've got to stay as weird as you can. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's I think the next 10 years will be really telling. I do having children that are 19 and 17 and their feeling on Facebook and their feelings on social media in general, I think that Gen Z could maybe change how social media is utilized as we move forward, but it depends. My son he probably will never be on Facebook. He has no interest, except for to sometimes troll people, which I tell him he can't do. So, yeah, but here's the thing about social media, and the reason why I love it is that it allows for a two-way conversation. So our why statement at Soch is that we believe brands grow by creating meaningful connections.
Okay.
And I take that, steps further, where it's not just brands, it's you and I. We create a meaningful connection, we share information, we grow as humans, right? So Facebook allows us to do that. Social media allows us to do that. How we're utilizing it and how the companies are utilizing it to make money is where the downfall is. And so can something be created? And will people go to it? Because there are positive social platforms, but people tend to flock to the ones that are less positive.
That's the fact as well. So we obviously are a very social people, right? Our entire DNA is made up to be sociable. And I think that's one of the reasons that we had this pressure cooker taking place for the 3 months of complete lockdown. Some people probably still haven't left their apartments, which is just bizarre to me, but people need to interact with other people. You need to have the social discourse and intercourse and whatever else, which you can't get when you're locked up alone. But so the need to have that expression then changes from one-to-one conversations in bars that were closed to now this kind of thing. And when you're anonymously, or maybe not anonymously, but you're behind a keyboard,
you feel anonymous.
You feel you're anonymous. You can do and say all sorts of things. Well, you think you can, but there's ramifications for everything. And the destruction is collateral damage. It's crazy. So the name of your company is Soch. Did you realize, did you think, did you project that social media was going to be what it turned into when you named the company Soch?
Well, so initially we named it Corporate Identity Solutions.
Okay.
And then in 98, 99, whatever year it was. As you can tell and you will learn, I often struggle with dates, times. It seems very, we call it's a social construct basically, right? Well. But, we rebranded in 2010. Okay. And I can't take responsibility or anything for the name. My old business partner came up with it, and we were going through all different variations. And it's actually from a book. It's West Side, one of the West Side Story, whatever, I can't remember which book it was from, and she came up with it. And the answer is no, I wouldn't have predicted social media to be what it is today. Probably out of a little, just me being slightly naive, I think, because I remember it was just all fun and games. And then the platform would grow, and then I would pop over to maybe Twitter, and then that would be fun and games, and then that platform would grow, and then you're like, oh, I can't really say things, I can't really be myself, because you have to be careful and watch what you say. I really didn't have it, but recently, I'd say in the last year or two, you could see it, well, no, even more than that, probably 3 or 4 years, you could see it start to progress to now where it's and I'm guilty of it too, so this is not a judgment, but where people feel like they can say and do anything, like you said, to some degree. And we don't really need to hear the inner thoughts of every human in our life. No. I don't even sometimes want to hear my own inner thoughts.
Yep.
So I think that's what happened, and it could be really dangerous. And it's being used against us through advertising. So one of the things that we do is that we'll only work with companies that align with our core values. They don't have to agree with our core values, they just have an alignment. Right. So that we're doing our part as marketers, but not everyone does and says that. So we shall see where it ends up, but potentially could be the basis of a civil war, I suppose.
Perhaps
the second civil war in America fought on Facebook, which, you know what, maybe that's fine. Fight it on Facebook, don't fight it in real life. So, but the thing that frightens me the most about social media is that most people don't understand the measurement of everything that's being done, and how then advertisers like myself can use it to manipulate behavior. That is the most frightening thing. And there's my existential crisis.
Okay. Did you, in school, did you take psych courses that were predicated on the marketing or vice versa?
No, I did not. But as I've grown older, I have started to spend more time in that realm.
Okay.
So in school, when I was in college, the internet really didn't exist, right? Like we had some, there's no internet, there was nothing. So it was a completely different world. There were some classes that would talk about, you're doing commercials, you're doing ads, ways that you can talk to people to get them to see your point of view or buy your product, but not on this level.
Okay.
So now it's a matter of really learning why a human does what they do, and then, in essence, my job is to manipulate what they're doing. There's just no other way around it.
Nope. Absolutely. That's what we all do with marketing, is to manipulate, right?
Yes. And hopefully, manipulate is a very dirty word, right? But hopefully you feel like you're manipulating for good.
Right.
So if you're going to buy this product, at least buy this product because it's healthier, or at least go here because you're supporting small business, or whatever the case is.
We all want to think that. Yeah.
We do all want to think that. My mother is very careful to say, just because you think something is good and right, doesn't mean it is.
That's true.
Like Hitler truly believed that he was doing the right thing. So
a man of conviction.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
So how much of your business now is web design?
That varies based on, because those are project-based things for us. So I'm going to go 20 to 30% is still web design.
Okay.
We've done some nice big sites. We're working on another one right now. But at this point, it's all connected. So if your website's your hub and your social media supports it, and then you have your traditional media around there supporting it as well. So they all have to talk to each other.
So is the role of websites today to be a commerce site more, or to be an informer site, or what's the?
I would say based on the business, it will vary.
Okay.
And we have some that are very much e-commerce focused. A lot of times it's really just informational, so that someone has a place to go to find out information. My biggest pet peeve on websites is that I always want to know who I'm working with. So when I'm doing a website, I push for people to put, here's about the owner. If it's a small business, it's about the owner and the team, or if it's a large corporation, it's about the team, and just really to humanize
the journey that got them there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So retail is dying. Traditional retail is dying. Brick and mortar, done. So even more of an emphasis and push upon e-commerce.
Yep.
So are there new platforms coming up for that are going to assist that, or what do you anticipate?
Well, I think we have to be very careful because Amazon is the king of e-commerce, and we're really stepping into an area of a couple of tech companies dominating our lives. We've already talked about Facebook.
Right.
Amazon's the other one, right? They're the other giant. And then you got Apple is in the mix. There's an NYU Stern professor, Scott Galloway.
Okay.
He talks about the four horsemen.
Okay.
And how collectively their wealth is basically bigger than most of the countries. All of these issues that we have with these huge companies that are becoming monopolies.
Okay.
I think you can't ignore Amazon for e-commerce, but I also believe that if possible, you should stay away from Amazon. I personally shop on it way too much. I wish I wasn't. It's one of those things where you're like, I could run to Target, but if I order from Amazon, it'll be here tomorrow, and I don't have to get out of my pajamas.
There you go. Yep.
Again, our own fault. We put ourselves in this own position, but I believe that brick and mortar will make a comeback.
Okay.
And the reason I believe that to be the case is that, going back to what you said, is that we are innately social people, or beings. We want to go out, we want to see things, we want to touch them, we want to feel them. And I think that it'll make a comeback. It's just going to take a while. It's not going to come back for everything, but I could see certain home goods, clothing. I was never anyone that did my grocery shopping online anyway, because I like to pick out my own fruit.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
you know, I have done occasionally, like you do the order if you're traveling, and then you do the order and they get the strawberries and they're covered in mold because the person didn't check close enough.
Yep.
So I do think that there are some brick and mortars that will come back, and I think what will happen is we'll see one brand that will invest in brick and mortar and they will set the trend. You know, someone like a Nike or a large brand that's going to say, we're going to bring this back.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to disappear forever.
Okay. So you think wearables or fashion as opposed to commodity items?
Yeah, I think it's going to, well, so it'll be interesting to see, because if you look at, for me, fashion, and I'm just speaking from my experience, but like, yes, you can have a bunch of stuff sent to you. And if the right, for instance, Zappos has made great strides in e-commerce, not from a fashion sense, but from a sense of you can order things and they don't necessarily charge your card until you keep it for X number of weeks. So, so if you've got e-commerce doing that, then fashion is maybe less likely. If I can order from Louis Vuitton and order 10 purses, and then as long as I send back 9 of them, they're not going to charge my card, fine, but I'm not going to jump on a store and drop thousands of dollars just to try things on. Right. So if one brand steps out ahead and starts to do something like that, I could see it going either way. It just really depends on who's going to lead the charge and who's going to be brave enough to do it. But yeah, I think if we don't have standard brick and mortar, I think it could easily go to pop-ups, or you have the traveling pop-ups that go around, and you know, someone's going to stop in Milwaukee and do a pop-up for 2 weeks, and you can come shop at the store. I could see that happening. Okay. For sure.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're talking a lot about social and marketing. What else should we be talking about?
Well, let's talk about your interaction with young minds and moving them forward, whether that's interns that you have, or do you go back and speak at all in front of them? What do you do? Yeah,
so that's a little bit of a passion project for me. So typically anyone reaches out and asks for time, I'll say yes.
Sure.
It sometimes takes me a little bit to make the time, but I think it's important I think it's important specifically to talk to young women, not that young men should be left behind. I've certainly talked to plenty of them as well, but really trying to give some sort of positive role model, and also realistic, because I think a lot of people, I know because I've had people reach out and they're, oh, your life is this and you're traveling and you're going here, and I'm thinking, yeah, it looks beautiful, but let me tell you, it's just as
took a hell of a lot to get
all
there.
The difficulties of every other human, and on top of it, well, not every other human, but like a lot of humans, and you know, just being realistic about what life looks like and how to deal with it. So this morning, on with my designer, she's got a toddler. Her husband works full time. She's working from home because we're all remote because of COVID. And she's working from home with her toddler, and
it's as bad as having a cat jump on your keyboard all the time, isn't it?
It's difficult. And I remember having toddlers and having the company, and I remember how difficult it was. And I had help. I had a nanny, but there's this guilt, and I think for women specifically, not to be sexist, but there's still that big push that women raise the children. Right. Which I think is fine. And if a man wants to choose to raise the children, I think that's fine as well. But somebody has to work, or both have to work. Right. I think for women, they struggle with a lot of mommy guilt. And so we had probably an hour conversation today about how she can deal with the mommy guilt, and you know, the fact that she's giving her toddler cookies just to satisfy him and having him watch television so that she can get some work done. And how she's so upset because, you know, what is this going to come? Thank you. How is this going to turn out? And I said, first off, he'll be fine. It's okay if he eats cookies. He'll be okay. Now, he shouldn't be eating cookies, you know, every day straight for the next 3 years. But if every once in a while you got to give him cookies and he's going to watch television, kids are resilient. But beyond that, working with her to have her like actually talk to somebody who can help her center and find her
Sure.
space, because she's very talented, and I could easily see her saying, "This is too much.
Right.
I'm going to step away and be a mom," which I fully support if she wants to do that as well.
Yep.
I think the biggest message I try to get across to young women, whether they're married or have kids or not, is you have to do what makes you happy with causing the least amount of damage to other people. That's what you have to do. Because any other path, I know from experience, is nothing but torment and hell, quite honestly. So do what makes you happy. And giving her permission, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but giving her permission to do that, because she's not giving permission to herself,
Right.
which is something I think a lot of women struggle with. Like, it's okay for me to not be this or not be that, and, or I want to do this, and that's okay too. So
Yeah, I get every part of that. In the 34 years that Shakers has been here, easily 95, if not 98% of our staff is and has been female. So, obviously we face that struggle every day because there's a bunch that have kids, some with partners, some without partners, and it is a difficult task for them, and I understand every part of that.
it's extremely difficult. And I've been divorced for 8 years now, and we're very close. My ex and I, we live close together, have the 2 kids, but it's still, so my son's in college, but my daughter is a senior year in high school. We have a big project going on in Park City, so I'll be flying out tomorrow. I've spent half of the summer in Park City, and she's 17, she has a car, she has a job, she can do, and she's very independent, but I still have guilt. There's still those moments where you're just like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? But I know still in my head, I'm saying, she's moving out in a year, and we have a great relationship, but she needs to go live her own life in a year. And your only job as a parent is to raise people who are going to be productive and responsible for themselves.
Right.
But it's really hard, and then you get in the mix of things, and there are moments when you're so worn out and mired down, and you think everything is wrong, and it's really hard sometimes to get out of that. And I think as women, the more we can do to support each other, the better. So.
Well, to that regard, it seems to me that you're lucky being a woman for any number of reasons, but women have these support groups, whereas men generally don't.
Yeah.
And you see the damage on a daily basis of people that are just 50s, 60s, never been married or never had a successful relationship or whatever, and their life is over in so many ways, right?
Yeah, I was, I guess the word is blessed with having 4 brothers and no sisters. So I've seen the 4 grow up, and I think it is a struggle. I think it's better than it used to be, but men aren't allowed to talk about their feelings as much,
No, they're not, and I know that our producer's going to kick me later for saying this, but in so many ways, men are obsolete. I say this on a regular basis. We are, and having owned joints like this for 40 years now, I've seen the evolution of relationships.
Yeah.
And women have dogs now, and that's just fine.
I do have a dog.
And traditional relationships are pretty much done and gone.
I think. So I get what you're saying with the obsolete. I probably said that myself, but in reality, what we have to look at is not the male-female relationship, but the partnership, right?
Okay.
Like, we need partnerships, and in most, whether you're gay, straight, bi, whatever. So I'm a straight woman, so my partner will be male. And I do have a partner, and he's in no way obsolete, but it's not like the dependence that a woman would have had in the 50s on the male.
Well, that's good. I think that part is very positive.
And I think that it's a good balance because men bring a different perspective, and that's really important. And I have a son, obviously at 19. He's often obsolete, but my goal is to raise him to not be obsolete, to really be able to step up. He's very forward thinking, so I don't really have any worries about that. But as a sophomore in college, they tend to be a little lazy. So
I've got one of those, by the way.
Yeah. That's like, he called me the other day laughing because his kitchen was so dirty. He's living in his own apartment for the first time, and the dishes had piled up that he was like, "You would die if you walked into my house right now."
The solution to that, by the way.
I told him, he was just home. I said, "Ben, pro tip: if you put your dishes in the dishwasher when you use them, they don't pile up." He just rolled his eyes. So yeah, but I think the difference is the equality. We're starting to level out on the inequality in all ways, and so if women are becoming more equal in the workplace, then men then need to become more equal in the home, right? Whether that's in any way whatsoever, whether it's helping around the house, helping with the kids, it just needs to equal out to whatever partnership levels are best for those people. Well, it's not my place to judge, but if the man doesn't want to work, great. If he does and that works out for the woman, as long as you're happy, that's all I care about.
Sounds so simple when you say it that way.
It does, but it's not. Trust me. I'm divorced. Did we not say that?
As am I. Yes. Indeed.
It's not as simple as it sounds, but it really,
Cool.
I think the issues with that is that a lot of people, men and women, are afraid to say what they want. And sometimes they don't even know what they want, right? Guilty of both of those things myself. And
what you want changes.
Exactly. And what you want changes, and who you are changes, and all of these things. And one of the things, the biggest lessons I've learned in probably the last, I'm going to say 8 years, probably since the divorce, is to really make sure I know who I am and be comfortable with who I am so that I can be with somebody else. And I, again, fail at that all the time. Be comfortable with failure. Yeah, and actually, when I first moved to Milwaukee, I was a cocktail waitress at the Up and Under. And I loved it, by the way, and then I did some bartending. I think that anyone in the service industry, well, actually, I have two deep beliefs. One, I think everyone should have to serve at least a year in some sort of military, and two, at least a year in some sort of service industry. I think if everyone had to do that,
be a different world.
It would be a different world.
Yep.
Because the service industry specifically, it's hard. I mean, I've never been to the military, so my understanding is that is hard as well. But you learn so much, and you learn how to deal with people. You learn how to, I think, work as a team better, because you absolutely have to, especially in restaurants. I mean, you know all of this. Women tend to be better sometimes at that. I'm not going to go with all women, but women do tend to be a little bit better in that teamwork space. But I loved it. I think that I've always said, if I could go back to bartending and not have people think Soch was going out of business and I was doing it for money, I would definitely do it. Because it's a ton of fun. Yeah, there you go.
Maybe we can arrange a monthly gig for you or something, just
gig
to come and play.
Come down.
Why not?
I'm probably not very good anymore, but I could probably pour some wine. I can do a
smile.
vodka soda. I can smile. I can.
And that's
make
half the gig right there,
conversation.
isn't it? Because that opens doors to everything else, right?
It really does. I don't know if I can make any nice drinks, but yeah.
Yeah, well, let me know when you want to. We'll play.
Oh, but I get cocktail waitress because someone else can make the drinks.
Okay, you're on. We're busy. We're one of 22% of the restaurants that's actually open now, and certainly because we have so many different facets here. Whether it's as a cigar bar, whether it's certainly those tours are just slammed. We're packed on these things. So,
I bet.
Yeah, we're busy.
Are those tours typically families that are coming in? Is that what you're seeing?
We are seeing a lot more families. Well, it's summertime anyway, right? So they're doing something. But traditionally, that's females, 25 to 45, college educated, and that's even higher numbers. Almost everybody taking the Dahmer tour, the Cream City Cannibal tour, is female and educated.
Nice.
And it's bizarre to me how women in particular have really glommed on to that particular tour. And the ghost tours are just busy. And once upon a time that was only dates, and now it is families, and it's just a bunch of girls hanging out. So
Yeah, we did the ghost tour, I'm going to say 2 years ago with my entire team and significant others. And it was fantastic. I mean, we just had such a good time.
probably some wine involved there.
And it definitely. And it's funny because regardless of what your beliefs are with afterlife and religion, if you just let yourself go with the flow, and it's just like you can walk out and just be super creeped out, but it's such a great story. I mean, it's such a great story. So yeah, we truly enjoyed it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Did you get to go on the tour with the divining rods?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that one was really weird because my business partner, his wife, her father had passed away, and of course, they went right to her. So she was a little spooked. It kind of threw her quite a bit. So yeah, it was interesting. And I always come at everything with a critical mind. So I was like, what is it about her that makes him think that she's got something? And so, but he nailed it. I mean, he nailed it. I can't remember who our guide was, but
Sure.
he nailed it. And she was just like, oh my gosh, how did you know?
Yeah, it's uncanny sometimes how
It
those
is.
things just pick up on something, and there you are.
It is. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm so glad they didn't end up pointing at me.
You haven't spent the night upstairs, though, have you?
No.
But you want to, don't you?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I could, but I would definitely try.
Well, okay. Say
Oh
one.
wait, I actually have a ghost story for you.
Please.
Okay. So this is so funny. So before I got divorced, my ex-husband still lives in this house, but he lives in a house that was built by Gordon Davidson of Harley Davidson.
Okay.
And you might already know about the whole story behind this, but the house was built, I believe, in 1928 or 38, but in the early 1900s. And the Davidsons moved in, and they had Jean Davidson, who just recently passed away. And I think she has a sister, but then they had a son.
Okay.
And the son was 4 years old, and he went upstairs. No, wait, I should probably restart the story because you're going to know where it goes. But the story is this. We moved into the house, and I didn't know any of the story. I knew it was built by Gordon Davidson. And I used to have these vivid dreams. I always have vivid dreams. But these vivid dreams where this woman would come into the bedroom, the master bedroom, and she would stand over the bed, and she would tuck my hair behind my ear and just look at me. Super creepy though, right? Like she wasn't menacing.
No, not creepy at all.
But it was a little creepy for me. I'm like, what the hell? And anyway, so no big deal. And every once in a while, especially as I was kind of sleeping or falling asleep, I would hear, Mom. But every mom hears this. Every mom, I still sometimes hear someone calling
Sure.
Mom.
Right.
And then one time I was in the bedroom and I was taking a shower, and the way the doors close to the master bedroom is like you walk in and then there's these two closets. So if the two closet doors are shut, you can't get in. And the TV turns on, right? So by itself, I'm in the shower. I'm like, what the hell? So anyway, I go down. Jean had dropped off the book that she'd written, Growing Up Davidson. And I'm looking through the book, and it's a Sunday morning. I literally turned to one chapter, like halfway through the book. And it's a chapter of the story of her brother. And he was 4, and his mom told him to go upstairs and wash his hands. And he went upstairs, washed his hands, and when reaching for the towel, water splashed into the socket, and he was electrocuted and killed instantly, obviously. And so she tells this story about so I'm reading it on a Sunday, and I'm starting to bawl because all of this is happening. And she's tells a story about she comes home from school, and these cars are parked outside, and that wasn't abnormal because they always had parties, and then the uncle sent her friend away, and then basically the mom spent a full year in the bedroom in mourning. And I was just like, so I do have some stories on that, but yeah, and I had no idea until I read that, and again, I just flipped to that chapter. I wasn't reading the book. So I have my little ghost story.
They say things happen for a reason. They say
Yes.
a lot of things, but
Yes.
yeah. Well, when you spend the night upstairs, I'm interested to see what experiences you will have. So just let me know when.
Do I have to spend the night alone?
No,
Okay,
bring whomever you like.
Oh my gosh. So it's funny that you say that because I actually am not a full believer in ghosts and ghost stories, or, I mean, without getting too far into religion, any of that. But I do believe, so if I had a God that I would worship, I don't really have a God, but if I did, it would fall along the lines of the Dan Brown books, like Angels and Demons and et cetera. And like, there's this universe, right? And there's an energy that we all have, and energy, as you know, cannot be destroyed or created, right? I do believe in this energy. So I did at one point in my house, when I was living at that house, when it was empty and a few things would happen, I literally said, "Hi," like out loud. This is gonna make me sound like a crazy woman. But I said, "I am not here to take your house. This is your house, and you do not have to go anywhere. You are welcome." And sure enough, then it was fine. But that was the mother, not the child, and I know the stories of what went down here. And if that is a thing, those are pretty angry people right now. So, well, maybe I could help them.
Maybe you could.
Maybe I could. Maybe I could bring, I don't know how, but maybe I could bring them some peace.
Sure.
Because I remember those stories, and they were vivid, and they were violent for some of the women that were here, and it's very, very sad.
Especially on the second floor, and of course Molly upstairs. Yep.
Yeah, very, very sad.
They're all still here.
Yeah. So
we did extensive work on all 4 floors during our COVID-cation, and I'm happy to say that everyone is still here. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. I think it's definitely some sort of an energy, and we did have watched my fair share of like ghost hunters. Have you ever seen Ghost Brothers?
No.
Oh, gosh. Okay. You have to look to watch it.
Okay.
It's very much like Ghost Hunters, but it's black people, not white people.
Right.
And it's fantastic. I mean, it's so good. Those guys that are on the show they're so good, and they make me laugh. But we'd watched someone. I was visiting my son in college last year, and it was hard for me to sleep afterwards.
I would definitely look it up tonight.
Because you have like, when you hear about negative energy and whatever, that's a little more frightening than the Davidson family, whose woman, she loses her son tragically when he's 4.
Right.
And, like, that's a different energy altogether. So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to take your challenge.
Good.
I'm super scared I just said that.
Please do say when.
I'm super scared I just said that, but yes, I'll do it. Oh my gosh. I'll have to be brave enough to do that, but I will.
Fun. We'll include dinner along with that for you as well.
That would be fantastic.
Speaking of food, what's your favorite restaurant ever, anywhere?
Ooh, good question. So, let me think. Ever. Oh, I know. There's a restaurant in New York, and I'm going to mispronounce it, but there's the ABC Kitchen and ABC, like I think it's Cucina or Cucina, whatever it's called. They have a dish there that's this rice and chicken, like crispy chicken skin. Knock your socks off. Amazing, comfort, delicious food. That's one of my faves. I haven't had it for a while because of COVID. Haven't been to New York. In Vegas, there's a restaurant called Le Thai.
Okay.
They actually have ties back to Milwaukee. The owners, you probably know Jeremy from Milwaukee, but the owners went to college with Jeremy, and they have a waterfall beef dish that is killer. So it depends on what dish we're talking about. If we're talking, I'm a big fan of chicken tenders.
It's your story, so.
Culver's, I love Culver's chicken tenders. I'm sorry. I mean, it just depends on what we're going to eat.
Sure.
I mean, they're your standards. There's a few, like sushi, been to Nobu. I think it's fine. It's good. I don't know if I would pay the price. If I was buying it, I don't know that I would choose to go there. I like to go to dive places, and neither Le Thai or ABC are dives, but I have more fun just, especially in New York, I'll just walk around and wander into a Thai restaurant or whatever and just, what do you got? Because I think the dives, because the mom's in the kitchen, or the dad, cooking up the food just like they would at home. That's what I'm talking about. That's real food.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you? Besides,
I'm around a lot. I mean, I've got a lot of really good restaurants. There's one in Key West that I like quite a bit. It's on Catherine and Truman Street. I would fly down just to go there.
Really?
man, there are some great things I've had in Barcelona. Charlie Trotter used to be, my go-to in Chicago.
Yep, he's great.
There have been so many phenomenal meals over the course of time.
Do you have a favorite burger?
No.
No. Are you a burger connoisseur?
I like burgers a lot, but when I'm out west, that's one thing. It could be In-N-Out. When I'm obviously down in Texas, that's a different thing.
Yes.
So Culver's makes a darn fine burger. I'm not so keen on what Cobb's has done. I'm convinced that it's more than just changing the bun. I think other things have changed as well.
Changed, yeah.
But it's a nice burger, and it's a nice price, and there you go. Some of the $17 or $20 burgers, I just don't get.
I don't get it either. I think it's a little strange. I actually think in general, America has overpriced and oversized food. We don't need as much food.
Yep.
We don't need that much, and it doesn't need to be that expensive.
Yep.
Now, for restaurants right now, my heart is breaking for restaurants right now because how difficult it is.
Yep.
And I would actually pay twice as much for a smaller amount of food so that they don't have to but I know that a lot of their costs come from different things. And we need restaurants. We need them to survive because that's our social outlet. That's what we do.
Sure do. We need bars too.
Yeah, well, bars are a given. Which
is the thing that the city of Milwaukee wants to shut down the most.
Are you serious?
Stone cold. So what they'd like to do is have plexiglass barriers between the bartender and the customers sitting at the bar, which makes no sense whatsoever, does it?
No, you can't. How are you going to do that?
How are you going to do that?
I was talking with one of my clients. I'm working with Julie Feldman on a project. She used to be on the news. Anyway, she's does video work and does a lot of interviews. And I said to her, I think if we got enough creative people together to solve this, not to solve COVID necessarily, because I'm not a doctor, but to solve the human interaction part of COVID, we could do it. It just needs creativity, and it needs not your, and no disrespect to your standard business person or bureaucrat, but somebody who's going to come in with something that is different than plexiglass. And so I think it's out there. It's just a matter of who's going to do it and how are you going to solve it. Who's got the time to look at it? Hopefully, maybe some college kid who's,
So you're putting together a syndicate for that, are you?
I am actually. We're talking on the 17th of September.
Cool.
Because she's going to be interviewing some people for an awards ceremony, and one of the winners was very concerned with COVID, and rightfully so. Fine with that. But so they were going to do a Zoom interview. It's not the same.
No.
You have to, so how do you do it that if this person is super COVID sensitive, not in a judgmental way, just COVID sensitive, then how do we do it so that they can feel safe and you can feel safe without wearing masks? Because when you have a mask on, then you can't read people's lips, and it's so much more,
Absolutely.
Especially for me, where I talk really fast and my voice is scratchy, and so if I have a mask on, half people can't understand me.
Right.
So how do we get there? What do we do? But no, bars are super important. I know that sounds weird, but take the alcohol out of the mix for 1 second and just talk about the social aspect of it.
Yep. Absolutely.
For sure. And actually part of the project I'm working on in Park City is about creating a COVID-safe environment. Bars are a part of it, but just activities in general. Because COVID's here now, there will be something else. I think I saw something about there's over 1 million potential pandemic or viruses that can happen that can cause, and probably more there's so many more that we don't even know about. So something will happen. So how do we do it? Or maybe it's just time for the human race to be wiped out altogether. I'm joking, kind of, but kind of joking. Maybe. If we keep going down the path,
it's not just men that are obsolete; it's people that are obsolete. So
it's not just men.
Well, AI is coming. That will be it, and robotics that really will debase many people, many jobs, and they're just gone.
But so that's an interesting thing that I talk to people about a lot, because I've actually had the good fortune of spending time with Elon Musk, who, as you know, is very afraid of AI. And we actually talked about my son, who is in cybersecurity, and the conversation really centered around, because he believes we need to regulate and control AI. I will tell you that you cannot regulate and control AI in any way whatsoever. Because there's some 14-year-old right now sitting in his basement, smarter than all of us combined, and he's putting something together. So instead, I think to some degree we learn to work with it. And so one of my favorite like stories from history, well, there's a couple, but one is when you look back at before there were ATM machines. When ATM machines started becoming more popular, there was this uprising of all of these tellers are going to lose their jobs. Actually, there are twice as many bank tellers today as there were before ATMs were invented. What do people use bank tellers for? I don't know.
Can't imagine what they're doing because when I go to the bank, they're certainly not.
I know.
But
so I don't know either. But so the truth is that every time we've had a technology that has increased, like productivity, humans have evolved and figured out the next thing. When the tractor was invented, it put tons of people, hundreds, thousands of people out of work. And guess what we did? We created schools.
There you go.
And those kids went to school. And then slowly we became, so the onset of technology, and as long as we don't dehumanize, it doesn't frighten me, but we have to be smart about it. So it's a...
Well, if I can ever help you in some part of that, let me know, because we share, I think, many sentiments here, and of course that's my Tesla sitting outside. So.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yes.
Yeah.
I refer to myself as the Forrest Gump of social media.
Okay.
I've been in the right place at the right time.
Falling forward is everything for me. It absolutely.
I wouldn't tell you that there was a lot of skill involved. That's what it is. Right place, right time. I've been able to meet a lot of people, and in an environment where it wasn't just, we're coming to meet for work. We're just, you're meeting people in a friendly environment, and you get to have conversations that you never would have had if you were meeting them to work together. So I've been very blessed in that way.
Cool. So I need to work out time for you to come and either be a bartender or to wait tables, and of course to spend the night upstairs.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going to have you, of course, for that women's only wine gig as well on the 21st. Anything you want to cover before we wrap this up?
I'm not necessarily. I'm good. This was a
I'd like
lovely
to
conversation.
do this again, if you don't mind. We can see how the next month or so pans out for us, and maybe have you back, and or come to you or something else.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm working out of my house, so might as well.
That's okay. We don't mind going there.
I mean, I only have cheap boxed wine, but I can definitely have you over, and you can come to my house. So good. Open book. I would love that. I think I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice to talk to you and get to know you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you much. And well, here we go. Closing cheers. So you have nothing there, but
no, I got enough.
Okay.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you for following and having us in your house, and we look forward to the next episode. And any questions, please give us a call. Cheers.